I saw a very interesting article over the weekend, actually an op-ed, written by Congressman Biggs and another congressman, Ken Buck. Is Anthony Fauci helping or hurting? Well, who is better to answer that question than the guy that actually wrote the op-ed, Congressman Andy Biggs. Congressman, good morning. How you doing?
Good morning. Good to be with you.
So what's the answer? What, in your opinion, is Anthony Fauci helping or hurting?
Well, I think he gave us a good start. I think it's time for him to basically step down. Here's the deal. He said last week in one of the meetings that I was on a conference call with that he has not taken into account societal, economic, or social cost or impact to any of his policies. And at the same time that I think that we are doing things that are right, we're doing things that are not right, in the sense that you've got 17 million new people who are unemployed today based on Fauci's policies, because he's taken basically a generic countrywide approach as opposed to saying, look, we know where the most vulnerable are. We need to make sure the most vulnerable receive the care that they need, and those who are treating them need to be tested often so we can make sure that there's nothing filtering into that population. No, he's basically said, we're going to say grocery stores can open, but any other retail stores should not be open. This is the problem with Fauci.
So as the leader of the Freedom Caucus in the House, you get to talk with the president quite a bit, I imagine. Have you relayed your concerns to President Trump?
I have.
How is he taking that?
Well, I'm not going to comment on private conversations I have with the president, but I will say that you've noticed that he's begun tweeting out about we got to get the economy open, and I truly believe that the administration, at least some components of the administration, get it, because you actually, with poverty, Garrett, you know this, you can have as many and even more health problems because people don't have the money to get the care that they need. And when they lose their jobs, you have emotional stress, you have physical stress. And so I think the president wants to get this thing open. And in large part, the people who've closed it down have been different governors around the country.
Yeah, and we'll get into that. Congressman Andy Biggs is on KNST AM 790. Just some more on Fauci, too, things that he said, and then some things the president has done. First, though, woman running for Congress, Deanna Lorraine, tweeted out that Fauci is now saying Trump listened to had Trump listened to medical experts earlier, he could have saved more lives. And we played the soundbite twice already. On February 29th, Fauci told the Today Show, you don't have to change anything. So she ended her tweet by saying, time to fire Fauci. And President Trump retweeted that. It's not like he didn't see it. You think, am I reading too much into that, or are people reading too much into the president retweeting a tweet that says time to fire Fauci?
Well, I can't. I don't know. Look. Here's the deal. Sometimes the president telegraphs what he's going to do by tweet. But I mean, Fauci himself literally was saying, as you say, the latest February. I've got quotes of him in January saying, "Look, we're going to handle it much differently than we've handled it." And I think that it's probably time for him to go. I wouldn't mind seeing Deborah Birx go as well.
That's big. I mean, look, I don't want to get into any kind of random theories or anything like that, but we all have eyes and ears, Congressman. My listeners do, you do, I do. And it's almost as if they get up there and they undermine the president. I mean, Fauci from day one has been against hydroxychloroquine, despite doctors that actually practice medicine all over the country having success with it. And there's a lot of people that look at this as the deep state. They look at what happened with the DOJ and Rod Rosenstein trying to take down the president. And now they look at what Fauci and Birx are doing to try to suppress the economy. We know that Fauci was a fan of Hillary and not Trump. Are we reading too much into this before we talk about the economic aspect?
Yeah, I really don't know whether he has any deliberate intent. I don't know him, so I can't say, but I can tell you this, that there's so many anecdotal stories and small N studies that say hydroxychloroquine with a Z-Pak or erythromycin, including even vitamin C IVs and zinc, really have salutary effect here. And he's basically poo-pooed all that. Now, we need to ramp up production of hydroxychloroquine because people with lupus need to get it, and now there's this scarcity that's out there. But you know, for him to say you've got a phase 1 approved drug that has been in use for many, many years, we know what the side effects are, we know what the problems are, we know that it's safe for human consumption. For him to try to limit the use of that when it seems to have some effect, some positive effect, in my opinion, that's irresponsible.
Congressman Andy Biggs is on KNST AM 790. So let's talk about the economic aspect of all this. And it looks like the president is going to name his economic task force tomorrow, led by Mark Meadows, your former colleague. When it comes to Arizona, you know, we haven't been hit as hard. Nobody's been hit as hard as New York City. They seem to be doing a one-size-fits-all. What would you like to see? I mean, Governor Doug Ducey put a stay-at-home order out there. What would you like to see happen here in Arizona? Because we need to get this economy open right away.
Well, look, you know, let's use the grocery stores as an example, and let's use the restaurants that you can get pickup orders from. They all have distance markings. They measure how many folks they're letting into their retail store by space. Just do that. Just do that and open up every business and just say, look, we're Americans. We've got choice. There's risk with freedom. We get it. But if we follow the guidelines that seem to be out there, that seem to have worked to some measure anyway in stopping some of the community spread, let's go ahead and do it. Let's open it up and see what happens. And I don't mean to say it flippantly. I mean to say I believe that we are smart enough as American people. We've now had our patterns and our habits changed enough, probably in the last 2 months, to be able to say, look, I'm going to socially distance from this. I'm going to stay away from this person. Don't forget. I mean, they were telling you don't wear masks to begin with. Now they say maybe you should wear a mask. They're not sure, but the one thing they're sure of is if you keep your distance, you can get this done. And I think that seems to be working. And I go to the grocery stores because we've got to eat. And people are respectful of the distancing. They're respectful of where you stay. They're respectful. They keep their distance. Why can't you do that in other retail stores? Why can't you open up some of the restaurants as some places have and said, look, you're going to sit, you know, far enough apart, and your server is going to be adequately covered and protected. I mean, otherwise, Garrett, by the time April's done and when they're talking about reopening, you're going to have 25 to 30 million people unemployed. And we've seen how bad the market is. We've seen how bad things are. And then you're basically in a depression at that point. And that's not good for anyone.
Are you surprised at how quickly and without a fight businesses in Arizona, around the country, said, okay, government, I'll do what you want. I've done nothing wrong. There's no evidence. Nobody even really knows what's happening. But we will close up shop and we will stay in our homes. Isn't it a bit scary that people were so willing to listen to the government in that aspect?
Yeah, it really is. We've gotten this mentality going where, I mean, one of the founders said, you know, you get security or liberty. You can't have both. They don't thrive together because there's risk in being free. We just kind of surrendered freedom for this. I mean, Gary, you've, I'm sure, told your listeners about all the instances around the country where everybody from pastors have been arrested to a guy paddle boarding in the middle of nowhere off Malibu gets busted, to a gal who's just driving, a gal just driving because she's tired of being cooped up. She's just driving on the road, and somehow she's arrested because she's going to impact somebody. These types of freedoms that we have that have been given up have been dramatic, and I've been surprised that it's happened so quickly, and that people have not stood up and said, "Hey, why? Why?" You know, businesses have been shut down all over this country by governors who don't really have authority to close them up and threaten criminal sanctions. I mean, that requires some kind of legislative action, and it seems to me that would be that a lawsuit would be filed. But the reason is because we all respect people's health. We want to respect people's health. We're careful about that, but you don't see us shutting down the economy every year when we have 30 million people get the influenza. You don't see that happening.
No, you don't. So, just looking at the economy now, I mean, obviously, look, it's April 13th. May 1st is a long ways away. We're talking about 18 days from now, and people are just suffering out there. Do you think the president, the economic task force coming out tomorrow, I mean, do you think in the next week to 2 weeks, which is well before May 1st, the president might announce certain parts of the country, and it's really up to the governors to say, open up business, it's safe, be smart, things like that?
I hope so. I haven't had a chance to talk to Mr. Meadows specifically about his role in this task force, but I mean, he is cognizant. He's plugged into the grassroots. And I just want to get back to Fauci for 1 second, Garrett. One of the things that happens is Fauci has been employed as a bureaucrat along with Birx for 30 years apiece. And what's happened is all of Congress is home, and we've all been talking to constituents basically nonstop now for 2.5, 3 weeks, whatever it is. And we have a better sense on the ground of what's happening than the Washington, D.C. bubble. And those people like Fauci and Birx are locked in that bubble. And whereas we know it has to get opened, you have got to get this thing opened. And you have to recognize whatever reasonable measures are necessary, but you get it open if we're going to survive as an economy. Those people in the D.C. bubble that are out there just absolutely disconnected from this, they don't get it. Because you know why? They're going to be able to make their mortgage payment. They're going to make their car payment. They're going to take care of their insurance premium payments, all of those things, because they're going to continue to draw a government check. So I believe that Meadows understands that very clearly, and he's going to push for a reopening with some good safety guidelines.
So what should people do then? I mean, should they call the White House, my listeners? Should they call Governor Ducey? Because Meadows and the president can, say something from D.C., but at the end of the day, it is still the governors, right, that hold the power to say open up or don't open up. Yeah,
you're right. It is the governors, and that's where I would be making calls. And I talked to the governor, and I said, look, Governor, I think you really need to get this thing opened up as quickly as possible, and basically what you and I have been talking about. And I just think that you're seeing some of it. I think you saw Texas Governor Abbott has come out and said, look, we got to figure out a way to get this thing open. I think DeSantis in Florida has said the same thing. He's getting whipsawed a little bit in Florida, but I think he's trying to do the same thing. And that's really where you need to go is to your state government. And here, one other thing, has this not shown us how dependence on the federal government in every way is upside down? The states understand. I mean, the governors of their states understand their states far better, and I just think that the states with the governors who are governing is a much better model. It's the intended model of our government, and that would be better.
Last one for me, Congressman, and I really appreciate the time. Congressman Andy Biggs, the leader of the House Freedom Caucus, on KNST AM 790. So the Democrats have really been posturing. They're trying to use this crisis to try to get every kind of pet project, only mail-in ballots, and there's all kinds of fraud with that. The stimulus hasn't really worked out for a lot of small businesses, a decent amount, but a lot of them are still suffering. There's loopholes in there. This morning, Schumer Pelosi came out and said the Republicans need to stop posturing on these Chinese virus aid bills, which is insane. What's your response to Pelosi and Schumer and the Democrats basically using this crisis and not doing everything they can for small businesses?
Well, it should be an embarrassment to them, and it'll go down in history as a shameful abuse of political power for political purposes. I mean, look, these are the folks that larded up that last bill. The president asked for $250 billion to replenish the PPP program for SBA. They immediately expanded that by another $250 billion with their vision of what they want to be. They have said this is a chance for us to make America to what our vision of America is, and they're trying to basically exploit this it's epidemic, and shame on them. I mean, just it's really shameful conduct. We should be finding solutions. We should do it quickly. And by the way, virtually every bill that has been passed out of Congress, which had justifiable opposition, and I was one of those, they all could have been passed cleaner, cheaper, faster if Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer would have let them. I mean, the first bill, it took them an extra 10 days. The second bill took them an extra 10 days. The third bill took them an extra 7 days. All of that because they were into this posturing and this make it huge type of deal. Now, let's expand programs. Let's give Peace Corps $88 million. Let's rebuild the Kennedy Center 2 days before they fire all their musicians. All of those things that they threw in all these bills, that's what they continue to do. They're just shameless political operatives.
Incredible. Congressman Andy Biggs, whenever the House gets back in session, I know you'll do good things, and I really appreciate your honesty. I know my listeners do, and the hard work you do, and we'd love to get you on again and hopefully talk about businesses being open at that point. Thank you so much for the time today.
Thanks, Garrett. Good to be with you.
Same here. That's Congressman Andy Biggs right here on KNST.